Good afternoon. It's now more than 48 hours since the catastrophic collapse of the 5-storey building in George, trapping 75 people under the rubble. Time still of the essence to find the 39 people who are unaccounted for this afternoon. Of those who've been extracted, 7 have lost their lives, 16 are in a critical condition. We take you now to our team, Xoli, Mngambi and Sipha Kema in George for you. Xoli, good afternoon to you. What's the situation on the ground there this afternoon?
Stephen, I can tell you that in the last major briefing that we have had this afternoon, in fact, it was just before 3 o'clock, moving into your slot, and the team, the entire team lined up in front of the media, and they looked slightly different. I was just having that conversation, Stephen, with our team member, Sipha Kema, and she was describing just the demeanor of the officials as they gave that briefing that, just reading from their faces, this is probably one of those very difficult moments now that they have to move into. And as you mentioned, it is now 48 hours, the hour of 2 o'clock, officially marking that hour of, or those hours 48, that the people that are still trapped underground have been in there for now, and presumably without water, without food. And so it is a very critical stage, Stephen. And I think at one point, Colin Dana, he's the head of the Western Cape Disaster Management, in a way letting it slip, Stephen, that they are looking for 39 bodies, but I think that he possibly did not want to use those words per se, because he still said in the same sentence that this mission that they are doing here is still a rescue mission. It has not moved to a recovery mission. So I want us to just take a listen to what Colin Dana had to say a little earlier.
The stage that we are in now it's a long and difficult stage, because you now have to look for 39 bodies in a structure of 5 stories that have collapsed. So you literally have a building like that which is sitting here. Trying to find those bodies is very, very difficult. You have to break a lot of concrete, and we are in a phase now where we sort of moving away from rescue equipment to demolition equipment. Doesn't mean we're moving from rescue to recovery, but we have to change the equipment because of the condition of the building.
All right, so Stephen, as you hear there from Colin Dana, he says that even the equipment that they are now using is slightly different to that of a rescue, because they now have to move and bring in the demolition equipment. And so I think a person who actually explained it better is Richard Walls. He is the professor of structural engineering attached to the Stellenbosch University. He is here and helping out in terms of advising these teams. Just have a listen to what he had to say.
Yesterday, at one stage, we had to move people out of various areas when the structure was moving. For about 24 hours, we were quite stable. But as we've got large amounts of concrete that they're trying to break through to get access to the voids where people may be trapped. The challenge we're having is just the sheer quantity of demolition that they've got to go through. With the tools available, it's been a slow process. Also, they are balancing on angled slabs, working in difficult conditions. Just now we had a situation where the slab started moving again. We had a very large crack open up near to where the teams are active. So the teams are being pulled off that area, and alternative strategies are being found to try and give access. The work will continue in various places, trying where we can to get in.
All right, Richard Walls there, Professor Richard Walls. He is a structural engineer, and as you heard there, Stephen, he talks about the 3,000 tons of concrete that they now have to try and remove in order to get to the people that are trapped, those 39 people. So I want us to talk a little bit more about this strategy and what it actually means. The person who really has been on top of this story since it broke, Sipha Kema, our colleague, and she speaks to us now. Sipha, good afternoon to you, and thank you for this. It's been such an incredible job you've been doing out here. So let's talk about the strategy that Colin Dana spoke about a little earlier, and that is to now move in terms of equipment try and bring in different equipment. Why is that?
Now, Xoli, today is really sensitive for the teams working, and it's very important for them to actually first strategize, and that's what they've been doing the entire day. I know a lot of people have been asking why the teams have been moving slowly today and not being on site. That's because they've been briefing, they've been talking, and the only strategy now that they've found is that it's time to get inside now. I mean, we heard from the briefing when we heard the head of disaster management from the Western Cape, where he slightly let it slip that they are now looking for bodies, and the only way in now is through the back. So now strategies have shifted because they can no longer get responses from inside, underneath the rubble rather. So the only method now is to get inside the rubble. And the way that they found, the way in that they found is actually behind the construction building where the staircase was and the driveway or entrance rather to the basement parking was. And that's the area that they've started to actually clear out at the back. And that's where they are expecting to gain entrance in, but also starting to remove the slabs out of the way, because there are some people that they were able to identify from last night that were actually inside two spots that is. I think the first spot was where we saw them trying to retrieve one of the bodies. That was about when we were talking to you last night at 6 p.m. They found other people there as well. And then the second part was the first body that they actually, or rather the person that they retrieved and pulled out of the rubble at 7 o'clock that was last night. They found people there as well. So what's important now is to start removing the slabs. And that's where the shift is now currently. I mean, before we know that, Xoli, they were actually looking for responses, and they had the dogs out, kind of to detect, to smell and sound as well. But the dogs now are away, and now it's time for the heavy machinery to do the work.
Sipha, Kema, let's pause there for a moment. Stephen Crotus, we're going to throw back to you, but as we do that, Stephen, I think it's worth reminding the viewers that perhaps the most important people right now as this critical stage of the rescue, it's the families. They are being kept inside the municipal building. I'm told that it is quite a tense moment inside there, and you can just imagine the agony that they are in, because the information as it gets to them, it's kind of difficult perhaps to handle what they are likely to be told in the hours that are to come. Stephen.